Yeah, so I'm here with White Suns. They have two new records coming out in about a week. You can find them from, it was Flag Day Records and Decoherence. And one's called Modern Reserve, which is I'm sorry, Dana, I'm just throwing you into this, which is a collection of various recordings over the last 15 years. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's odds and ends, unreleased things, demos, kind of just miscellaneous stuff that we had.
Yeah, and it's super rocky, if you will. Maybe that's the wrong word, but like it reminded me of Harry Pussy a lot, especially with the fidelity and stuff too. Like,
Yeah, it's the fidelity is all over the place.
A few of those are definitely 4-tracked, I think.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, it sounds like it. And then the Lower Way, which is the collection of brand new tracks. And I think from what I got of it, it's like a meeting point between your last record, which was the Psychic Drift, and like everything that came before, I would say.
Yeah,
But something new.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's definitely your most digital record from what I gathered, if that's fair to say, with some of the sampling, and it's the noise kind of soundscapey stuff feels less feedbacky and much more like electronic, truly, you know. Yeah, I've been listening to these guys for a long time. But yeah, you guys were going to tell me a story. I'm from Victoria, and these guys were telling me a story about Vancouver, something that went down there when they were touring.
Yeah, the last time we were there, we played at I don't know the name of it, but it was kind of like DIY venue. And
Okay. Was it the Red Gate? Does that sound right?
No.
Okay.
It was kind of like a warehouse space, but part of a complex where people also lived. I remember on one side there's like a big open space where there was a stage, and then on the other, people were crashing.
That sounds like,
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's probably changed names over the years too. I don't know.
I think it was just a number. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, we had played there the night before, and we were on our way back south to Seattle, I think, and we were at the border checkpoint, like waiting in line in the car, in the van, or we were at a car, and we were kind of just like, all right, we're leaving the country now, so we better just take a second to think about anything we might have left behind.
Prior to that, I was like, pull over. Because it was our first tour together in a long time. And we used to be quite seasoned at the dummy check and carrying lots and lots of shit around. But between the four things that I had on this tour, I managed to leave a pretty important and irreplaceable item behind.
Yeah.
So we drove all the way back to the venue, and Kevin was trying to call the promoter, and
unreachable.
And it turned out they had stayed up until like 6 or 8 in the morning.
Yeah, there had been like a punk festival going on that weekend or something. There was like a multi-day punk fest happening, so everybody had been partying all fucking night into like the morning, and even the people. Yeah. I mean, can't fault them there, but even the people living at the complex we were banging on the doors and shit, and they were completely unresponsive.
Yeah. So then I start looking around through to find any open window, and I see my device just sitting on a table right there, and I was like, fuck, well, now we know where it is. And then I start like reaching in through the window to try to unlock the door, and I had a broomstick, I think, that we found in the alley.
Okay.
And I was like, I can't get it.
Window that was,
it's like a fucking Hitchcock
there was a window
movie,
that was open, like
it was
like this open,
slightly open window with bars in front of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I was reaching through the bars, and I was like, I'm so close, but I can't get it. And Dana's like, is the problem that your arms aren't long enough? I was like, yeah. So he hopped up there and flipped the deadbolt open, and we were like so excited. We just barged in, set the alarm off to the building.
Oh, damn. Okay,
Yeah.
It was armed with one of those like countdowns to where they're gonna call the cops or some shit.
Yeah. So then we grabbed my instrument and lassoed like a slip knot around one side of the deadbolt and ran it through.
I think we grabbed a couple warm brews on the way out that had been sitting out all night.
Yeah.
Were they opened or unopened brews?
It's the kind of thing where you walk into someone's house after a party in the morning and there's like a tub full of lukewarm water with a couple floaters in there
Right,
still.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So we retrieved the instrument and we left, and we had fashioned a device to relock the door, which I thought was pretty courteous on the way
Yeah.
out.
Which one of the people living there mentioned, right?
Yeah, we got a text from them like in the early or mid
They
afternoon.
MacGyvered the door or some shit.
Yeah, they said they fish hooked the door or something.
They weren't mad about you busting in though, I guess, eh?
They were
No,
yeah.
no.
I
It
guess with,
was it was all copacetic.
That's good, yeah. I guess with like a punk festival hangover, you're not going to care about much, really.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's left something behind and had that pit in their stomach, so
Oh, yeah,
they understood,
definitely.
I think.
Yeah. Damn, that's funny. Yeah, because one of my questions actually was like, to what degree, because the music that you guys make as a band is very like, confrontational, like noisy music, right? And I was just wondering if there's a degree of a sense of humor about it, because you've been doing it long enough. I'm sure that there's like a consciousness of, it's inherently niche music. I don't mean that in an insult to it, because I really like it, but like, yeah, is there a sense of humor around it? Was one of my questions, but it's a weird question.
I think like the music itself is mostly pretty humorless, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
But the three of us definitely have a sense of humor in person.
I'd say we're quite the opposite in person.
I think that's where the
I guess,
catharsis
we
comes
take
too, right? In that type of performance and stuff too.
Yeah, we take what we do, pretty seriously when we get in the room. We're easygoing people in general, though.
Okay. I'm curious about how you've been able to. How long has the band been together? Is it 15 years? Is that right? Roughly.
Yeah,
In
thereabouts.
one form or another.
Yeah. So I'm curious about how you've sort of maintained an experimental edge, and how you like stay interested in sticking with one, the unit that is White Suns, and how perhaps your relationship with the project itself has changed over the last 15 years.
I think one really basic way that we've done that is just by holding ourselves to a kind of standard of not just getting like stuck in a rut and doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways that might happen naturally anyway. There's only so many good ideas anybody has. But we kind of had this rule. I remember early on when we were, just writing shit in Brooklyn, where it was sort of like with any new song that we decided to put together, if it started sounding like or feeling like we were just repeating something that we had already done, that was usually a sign not to continue with it, or to throw it out, or to find some way to fuck with whatever structure or sounds that we were working with. So, I mean, yeah, that alone kept us like, I don't know, actually creating and experimenting with what we were doing, and being interested in kind of upending any kind of, I don't know, sort of static.
Illness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys have always changed, like throughout all the records, without a doubt. And I think, you could see certain records and go, hey, that was successful. That's what people want to hear. But you guys have clearly not done that, which I commend you for,
Yeah, I think that's reached an extreme in recent years after not playing as a trio for 3 years.
Because Psychic Drift was just two of you. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the past times that we've gotten together to play, it's been like a blitz of writing new material as quickly as possible, and then doing a tour or playing a couple shows around it. But we never really even entertained the thought of trying to just play the stuff we only ever played once before a year ago. Like the record, we may never play that again. We may never play the stuff we played last year in Latvia live again.
Yeah. How did you make this new record? How recently was it recorded? Was it a pandemic thing? Did you guys find a way to get together? Or?
It was actually the songs have been around for like 2 years, and we actually recorded this stuff last year.
Okay.
But since we don't live in the same city together, our working processes are a bit slower than the average band, and yeah, it was just
about a fucking record.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard for us to find the right place to put a record, who wants to put it out,
Right.
when can we tour to support it. There's a lot of things that are a little more difficult to arrange as we get older, I guess.
Yeah, getting sort of bogged by
kind of
logistics.
sad,
right?
but true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not nothing to do with our lack of interest, really. It's just takes some effort for us to get together physically and to work on a project together.
Yeah, kind of speaking to this question and the last one, since we only have these, we've been like sort of writing songs on the basis of opportunities when we decide like, all right, let's get together and do something. That's also given us a kind of like clear idea of what we want to go for each time we do this. So there was like, with this formation of the band, for instance, there was like a discussion prior to us ever like meeting up and playing, which was like, all right, well, this is the thing we did last time. That worked in some ways and it didn't in others. We did this tour when we went through Vancouver. It was like, all right, let's try and like make a band, but none of us are actually playing traditional instruments whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
Which is, in some way, that's always been, I don't know, part of the gimmick of White Suns is like, yeah, we'll take some of the like structures of, or like things that reference rock music, but refuse to just fucking play rock songs.
Yeah. Anti-rock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's more and more been the idea, I think, as the band has grown. And so we tried that with like some success, and I don't know, this time around I think kind of honed that idea a little more, and we were
like, let's bring the guitars back.
Yeah, let's bring
the guitars back.
Yeah, I mean, on the new record though, I do think like it's one of those records where I'm like, is that a guitar? Is that not a guitar? Does that kind of mental trickery. It's a great record. I wrote down that I thought it was it sounds very composed. You know what I mean? Like a lot of your music is inherently spontaneous sounding at the very least, right? But this record, the songs change very rapidly. It doesn't seem like you let like ideas kind of overstay their welcome.
I'm glad that you think that, because that's always something I'm self-conscious about when we're writing.
Yeah, I mean, people who enjoy that kind of music have the patience though for longer stretches of a singular idea.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely something to be said for using extended time in a single piece, if that makes sense. But
yeah,
these guys know that I'm always like, should this be shorter? Should we move on? Like in every song that we write, that's, and there's always, the three of us, we compose the songs together democratically. So there's push and pull between the three of us about what we think is a good idea. So we all balance each other out.
Yeah. The length thing is something I saw in one of the interviews you guys did. I think it was the Baltimore Sun interview, where you test stuff out live essentially, and you realize, oh, this section is too long, or this section is the audience reacted to. And that's something I've experienced too, like playing sort of improvisational music live and stuff, is where something that I thought it lasted 35 minutes, and I go, okay, this is done. And it had only been 10 minutes, and you yourself, I guess, are more conscious of time outside of the recording studio. And
I agree.
Yeah.
What instrument do you play, JP?
I mean, these days I'm just an Ableton guy mostly. I do teach ukuleles on Mondays to elementary school kids. But
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's kind of cute. But yeah, no, I'm just an experimental guy. I just have been. I actually read how, I can't remember which one of you it was, but you played your first show. And you got a show at a church, and you didn't really have anything ready, and we're just like, let's fuck with the church, basically. Is that right?
I think that's a Dana story. I'm gonna. Is anybody else drinking any beer tonight?
I'm having some wine.
Got a little scotch here.
Okay.
I was like,
I'm
Dana's
gonna
drinking
get
something-
something.
Yeah, you
something
should.
that looks good.
I encourage drinking on my show. I mean, I'm off the booze in the classic, New Year's resolution sense, in that I drank from December 24th all the way to the 31st. But so I got a club soda.
Wait, Dana, is that church story about you?
Maybe it was the VFW gig that
Oh,
Kevin and I played we just sort of made up a band for the sake of that one night. You played with Josh's band that night.
that's right. So I
Yeah.
probably had a hand in organizing it then.
Yeah, I think so.
Huh.
Kevin, I think the show is actually us playing in that group Mollusk Men at the VFW.
Yeah.
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 So it's worth noting that after that show, we were no longer welcome to book shows there.
Yeah, as it happens. I've
Yeah,
experienced
because
that
they-
too, where I
they-
conned a promoter and I just did some really experimental fuck shit, if you will. And
Yeah, and we did
not
some
get booked.
pretty out there we had some out there shows before that, but that was enough to scare the barflies away.
Yeah. Have you guys since
When we were probably about like right after high school, right or at the end of high school or so, we were 18, 20, 21. Rick was setting up a lot of shows in our hometown and various compositions of different friends of ours and each other would play. And we were basically told not to come back from quite a few places in that area, in that region of Connecticut where we grew up.
Yeah.
Until we found a sympathetic
that
gas
show?
station owner, right?
Yeah. I was thinking of one of our really early shows. Maybe we were not even White Suns. We played at that bar in Danbury, and people were like heckling us between the songs and stuff.
Yeah.
That
can be fun though. I mean, depending on how you're approaching the live show, the heckling. I've had fun with that. I was in a group that we straight up were very much inspired by you, and we would have bar flies jump on stage and like be like, drummer, play a beat and stuff like that. And I was just, and sometimes I let them play the drums and shit,
Yeah, I guess that's just one of those badges you have to earn,
Yeah. So have you guys experienced any like clearing of the room in like more contemporary touring, I guess? Because I read again in one of your interviews that you guys often get booked with bands that don't sound at all like what you guys do. I guess that's the nature of kind of the beast of booking a tour, but
I think we've
I don't
definitely
think
fairly empty in different rooms.
okay.
Even recently, not always, but I can think of one gig in particular on the last tour that we did where it was kind of everything just felt very dead.
Yeah.
Maybe we weren't good that night.
Nah, fuck the audience.
Wait, which gig are you referencing, Dana?
I'm thinking of that St. Louis show
Yeah.
Oof, whoa, that was a bad one, yeah.
with our friend the fucking jester doing the door work.
Yeah.
There was like this Australian guy wearing a jester costume.
Okay.
Who took on the serious burden of collecting people's money that night.
Yeah.
True to his form, I guess. True to his costume.
Did his costume relate to like the theme of the bar or anything?
No.
No. Maybe
He was
that
running his own
joke
show
of
at
a
the door.
doorman. Yeah, he was like, yeah, you know what? A lot of people said they didn't really want to pay, and so here's $5, something like that.
Ooh, $5?
It's like,
Yeah.
That was a rough night. I mean, it was just like a weird weeknight in St. Louis.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can't blame him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's ways to make sure that a touring band kind of gets their dues, though. I think like the local bands need to just go, fuck it, I'm not making any money tonight.
I don't think the local bands made any money that night either.
Okay. Yeah.
But I I understand your sentiment, and I agree with you.
Yeah. So I'm curious also about this relates to what we were just talking about, but the consciousness of audience, right? So, and I've asked this to all the musicians that I've interviewed so far, basically, but it's how and I guess we already touched on this a little bit, but how much are you influenced consciously, unconsciously by audience reaction, whether or not that's thinking that people are going to like something, that if you want to try something and go, I think people will like this, or critical praise or lack thereof, and so on, and even just live shows and stuff. Is that something that you guys, I don't know, are conscious of or factor in, and if so, how?
I mean, I think there's like depending on how you sort of like how deep you want to go in saying there's a role that the audience is playing. There's no way that it's not influencing what we're doing.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
of course, we're only doing this in some sense so that people other than us listen to it. And maybe some of that influences the fact that we're like, oh yeah, let's do this thing for too long,
Yeah.
Whatever that counts as is going to be based on some audience standards, right? But I don't know. For the most part, we never talk about that. Whenever we're writing songs, I'm thinking of it more in terms of like, oh, this would be interesting or cool or worth doing, and we just really work from there. So it has more of a hermetic feel to it, at least for me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I've had a similar thought too, where when we're writing stuff, we don't really talk about what influence the music would or could have on anyone else except for ourselves. We really just write to our own standards, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess as you said,
and
you
as
guys
far as like
write democratically, right? So
yeah, and as far as performance and making a judgment onto the effects we're having on the audience, like I guess obviously people are having a good time if you get like knocked over and stuff, but I don't know if that means they're reacting to the music or
they're just loaded,
fucked up or whatever.
Yeah,
which
and
is fine too.
We have reacted to that in the more raucous days when we had drums and lots of amplifiers, and we have these really kind of every now and then some just off the wall cathartic show, and we would definitely play into that with the people. Whereas we've also played at like museums where people are sitting.
I found some art gallery gigs that you guys have played in the past. Just I think the music does suit that, but I think that you could potentially get frustratingly over intellectualized feedback from that, possibly as well.
Yeah, it's funny. Like at the more highbrow shows, I found that people kind of talk to us a little less. Maybe they think we don't belong there, or they don't know what to say or what to make of it.
Maybe they're scared by the music. They're intimidated, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I guess I don't really care.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know what those people want exactly, but I don't know. We're coming in some way, shape, or form. We're coming out of the world of basement gigs and rock music. Things that trace
punk.
back to punk world. So yeah, I don't know. There's at the end of the day, it's there's only so much that comes out of chin scratching.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I took a class
as far as
a lot of that.
As far as like audience feedback, like I kind of consider it like that's their business to think about it. Our business is just to make it,
Yeah.
It's really kind of that simple.
I can't recall a single time we've ever been writing something and taking that into consideration.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Whenever like conceptual stuff comes out of the music, it's there in the material. It's in the composition itself, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It's not like you read some of these reviews. I'll refrain from naming anybody, but where they kind of paint this very elaborate story about like some kind of like social commentary or significance that comes out of the songwriting. And yeah,
yeah. I wrote down actually.
That's cool. I'm glad
opposite in
that
my
people
notes.
like get that, or get that out of it. But that's never really part of the intention.
Yeah, I find that the at least the lyrics in terms of what you just specifically said, like remind me more of it feels just like poetry rather than some kind of like, you know, political slam poem or something, right? Not to knock slam poetry,
I usually write the lyrics, well, not all the time actually, but a lot of the time I write the lyrics like separate from the music, and I'll see what fits later.
yeah.
I mean, I do write about real things in the real world, but at the same time, like, I don't know. What was the question?
I mean, yeah, it is pretty abstract.
You're the slam poet.
Yeah, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I read a lot and I write a lot, and I try to keep the language section of my brain operational.
Yeah, when I was in a like noise rock band, the way I was the guy who yelled or whatever, and I would
This is good. I want to hear about this.
Yeah, so the way I would write lyrics was I know I'm interviewing you guys, but I guess it's just a conversation. But I would write, basically I would just like hear lines sometimes in movies and video games and stuff, and I would just write them down, and then or things would come to me, or I'd hear something on the bus, and I just had to know. The band was called Schoolgirl, and I had a big note on my phone that just said Schoolgirl. I would just write all these lyrics, and then I would just, whenever we would record, I would just look at them, put my phone down, and hope that they were delivered correctly, basically. So it was like semi improvisation. I was wondering if you had that approach, because I was thinking that you might, but I think
No,
digging
not
deeper
really.
into your catalog,
I mean,
it feels more composed than the Recollect from 2014 or whatever, right?
yeah. No, I usually, I mean, I might get a flash of inspiration from overheard conversation, or like, I don't know, a site that I've seen, but no, most of the time a single song will be kind of a single idea.
Okay. Yeah, because the talking about the lyrical process is a very difficult thing, I think, to quantify, right?
Yeah, I guess
Outside of maybe
I've never,
hip hop and pop, but
yeah, I don't know. I haven't never talked about it or thought about the process of it so much. I do labor over them to try to make them good, if I can. I look back at some of the older ones. Actually, I did this recently because I was collecting some material to send to someone, and yeah, some of the older stuff is not so great, but the feeling is there sometimes.
yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
like
the
all
lyrics just alone.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like the kind of thing where I look at it and I'm like, oh man, I used the same descriptive word like twice in the same song. Whoops, you know, like stuff like that.
It's like scanning over your essay and going, I said however 100,000 times or whatever, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my God's face is made of mirrors. My God's face looks like my father's. I don't know exactly what that means, but that shit always got me pretty good.
That's some slam poetry right there.
Yeah. I don't know. I wrote down that I'm like, that's a decidedly, in my opinion, happy lyric. That's another thing I wrote down. I think it would be easy to characterize your music as dark and confrontational, et cetera, but I think that it's much more of like a release of energy, like rather than something. I've never found your music to be like evil compared to like a Slayer band or something, right?
No, that's not. I don't think. Yeah, I would have to agree. Yeah.
Yeah, going back to, I don't know, sort of the role of experimentation in our songwriting or things like that. At least when we were kicking off and getting inspiration for our own ways of like putting music together with the tools that we had.
Yeah.
Some of the main influences for me at least, and I know in some ways for the other two, was coming from bands like these bands that also had kind of like rock elements or rock instrumentation, but were also tearing that shit apart in ways, some ways much better than we did, at least early on. Like Sightings is one big reference for me.
I listened to them while prepping for this, actually. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Fat Worm of Error is another one that I always come back to. And those are bands, they're not, when you listen to them, I mean, things don't sound, the normal like emotional content that you get out of hearing like a minor key or something isn't there. And maybe you think that's like, makes it like scary or dark. But for me, it's always just strange sounding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of bizarre. And that's what I like about that stuff. It's like, where is this coming from? Like, how the fuck is this even a band playing this? When I listen to some Sighting songs, I'm like, what are they doing? This doesn't sound like a band.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
There's a lot of different flavors that you can conjure without using, like Dana's talking about, your kind of standard triggers for emotion that you'll find in most pop music, like the minor key or the crescendo or whatever. Once you move on and try to create your own like emotional triggers, that's what I find like most gratifying, I think.
It comes across,
and it's more personal.
Yeah, I think as far as the lyrical content is concerned, for me it's worth noting that I usually did not know what the lyrics were until Dana and I sat in a recording studio and heard you do the vocals. So we played those songs like, maybe hundreds of times.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like, here, and sometimes the PA would be pretty shitty. We didn't even have a PA in our practice space. But the vocal element was always more of an instrument for me. And so I didn't get the direct lyrical content until later.
Right. And I think in your musical context too, the vocals as an instrument, it's like something to kind of grab the listener, like, and it's like, hey, like shaking them or something, I don't know.
I think I would like to think it's nice to have a recognizable human sound when you're, like you're saying, you're sometimes maybe not struggling, but unsure of the source of some of the sounds that you're hearing in our music. I think it's, I like this in other music that I enjoy too. It's nice to hear something recognizably human to, I don't know, it makes it a little bit, there's an entry point for like an emotional experience, I think.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. Okay. What music did you guys grow up on? I'm always curious, but it's such a bland question, but I'm always curious I love when people just list off bands and shit,
What I grew up on is like what your parents.
What's in your DNA, What's in your artistic DNA, I guess, yeah.
If I like the farthest back that I'll go, like a group that really like latched onto me early on and that I feel like is still kind of born fruit in various ways would be 9 Inch Nails.
Okay, hell yeah. Yeah.
I remember hearing, when I was 6 or 7 or something, when the Downward Spiral came out. And so I'd hear like closer on the radio. There were older kids in the neighborhood who, duplicated some cassettes and shit that I would listen to on the playground when I was a little kid. And that stuff I thought was some of like the coolest sounding music I had ever heard, including the more like synthwave type shit.
Yeah.
And if I had to go back that far, that would be number one.
The band. 9 Inch Nails is a band that has always, whenever I go back to them, they sound different. I get something different out of at least their first 2 records more than anything. But
Yeah, I mean, you go.
Sorry, go. Do you have more to add, Dana?
No, nothing.
For me, it was like kind of your standard 90s rock stuff when I was a kid. There was not a lot of music in my house from my parents, like so it was just on my own exploration. But for me, it was like Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, Nine Inch Nails also. And I was really deeply listening at a young age, but it didn't occur to me really that it was possible for me to make music on my own until I heard Sonic Youth a little bit older, and that's what really started me.
Yeah, I had a big eureka moment with them in early high school with Sonic.
Yeah. So there was a kid who lent me an album when I was about 13 or 14, and that's what set me off, I think, on my path.
Yeah, Sonic Youth's a good one because it's. I remember the first time I listened to them, I thought to myself, I'm like, this sounds like hell, like, but I like it, you know, like.
Yeah, for me it was like the
stoned brain, you know.
Yeah, the guitar stuff was it was like a crack in the heavens, and like you could see some angels in there, you know? That's what it was like.
Were you playing guitar at that age? Like age 13?
That's what made me start.
Right.
Yeah, that reminds me of these nights. I still have this distinct memory of these drives home, maybe one in particular from a like family Thanksgiving in my dad's minivan. And my dad was always a big Neil Young fan. So I heard a lot of that stuff growing up. And in the 90s, Neil Young toured with Sonic Youth. And so my dad had picked up Daydream Nation. And so, when I was too young to really particularly like it, maybe because of the production quality, maybe because it didn't sound enough like Nine Inch Nails or Korn or whatever the fuck I was into at the time. But I really distinctly remember hearing that album for the first time, like, late at night, driving through the woods in Connecticut. And so, it's definitely stuck with me.
How about you, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of grew up on the sort of run of the mill. Like my parents didn't play a lot of music. There was just like a lot of radio. So like classic shit that you would still hear on the radio here today. And I think that maybe Sonic Youth was pretty eye-opening for me, same as Kevin. And I think when I started trying to learn how to play guitar, I realized really quickly that I was never going to be good at it unless I devoted a lot of time to it.
Yeah.
But that I could just totally fuck it up. And that there was this whole canvas that you could paint on the instrument with, where you didn't, like, I'm a terrible musician, like, but there's this whole other world where you can experiment and prepare the guitar.
Yeah, and you the fuck out of the guitar till you like the open chord and see where you go from there.
Yeah. And I think I was lucky to learn about John Cage at a fairly young age. So that kind of opened my mind to a lot of just different ideas in music that maybe were going to be there or were there, but I didn't know about yet.
Yeah, so that's something I find very interesting, is the kind of strange crossover between like, you know, DIY experimental music, if you will, and like sort of 60s, 70s school of like neoclassical or whatever they call it, where, you know, people like Lamont Young and John Cage and shit kind of bleeds. I mean, it's really no different. The only difference is one of them was written down and had a manifesto or whatever you call it, and the other one is sort of made in a recording studio or you know, less formally, right?
Yeah, definitely at a fairly young age, like Velvet Underground led me to Lamont Young. So it was like there's
that's how I got there too. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And I feel like we were all like pretty poor in high school noise musicians, and like at least Dana and I were just buying up all sorts of stupid shit from thrift stores all the time. to try to make music with and circuit bend things. And
Yeah.
once you kind of start to view that realm as open as it can be, then like everything becomes a weird little instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like, yeah, maybe another stage to the DNA way of thinking is like Kevin's answer, like what, because it wasn't Nine Inch Nails that got me into playing music. In fact, I didn't even buy a lot or try to listen to a lot of music back then. It was just like, oh, I like this and I don't like, you know, Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
So here I am. But yeah, it was, and I got more into stuff as I started like hanging out with Rick and his circle of friends in high school and smoking weed and doing this thing. There's sort of more of a listening to music or like Pink Floyd or post-rock stuff and hanging out. But I think the thing that got me to actually start playing myself was, yeah, being introduced to some of this harder edged like no wave and noise stuff, where there was this kind of, the barrier to entry was very low, and it was basically an open invitation not to sort of have to abide by these sorts of canons of proficiency or
that no wave stuff is, I can hear the no wave stuff big time especially on your earliest records. I can definitely hear the no wave kind of vibes. Yeah, that shit is interesting. It's certainly, I've never thought of it like that. It is sort of an open invitation to be like, listen, like, as long as it's as you think it's cool as shit, it's cool as shit.
Yeah, I think something that I kind of realized in my teens when I started to go see more, we lived in a kind of rural area in Connecticut growing up, but once I was able to get my driver's license and leave my parents' house, I was able to go see bands in New York and travel around a little bit. And you kind of, once you see more live music, you kind of realize that the proficiency isn't what it needs to be there. Like, it just takes like some personal power and like presentation, and you realize that performance has more impact than the playing does sometimes, especially when you're going to see, punk or noise or anything like slightly aggressive. So yeah, I think that counts for a lot too, and that's something you don't learn when you're taking guitar lessons from a fucking bluegrass dude in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of what made punk interesting, or at least, a more radical art form in some people's minds than the, garage rock and 50s songs that a lot of those bands were covering, had nothing to do with the notes or the chords that they were playing. It was sheerly the fact that, amps had gotten a lot louder, distortion pedals had become run of the mill, and they played it fucking fast. It was all about the energy, things that didn't have to do with the notes themselves. And so
that's what I love. It's just like boom, there you're right in it. Whereas, music that's not so hard and fast and loose is something I wouldn't even say it requires more patience, but it doesn't have that kind of like almost drug and like kind of immediacy, right?
Yeah, there's also like, I think the three of us kind of matched up on this without really talking about it too, because there's the punk versus metal, the debate that will go till the end of time. Yeah. And in metal, there's definitely an emphasis on proficiency and musicianship, and those guys have sometimes more grounding in classical music or music theory.
Big time.
And I just could not be less interested in that when I was 17, 18, I was like, I understand that it's cool to like have bullets in your belt or wear spikes on your shoulders and face paint and whatever. And I like I like a lot more metal now than I used to, but being a young person thinking about starting a band, that stuff was just not interesting to me at the time. I just wanted to do it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
and that meant not having to learn too much.
Yeah, no finger tapping, Dorian scales and shit. Yeah.
Or like, how many bands were you in high school where not even everybody owned the instruments that you needed to play?
Yeah.
And you just like meeting
Yeah,
up.
I think Rick, you provided full instruments for a lot of bands.
I did.
Yeah, didn't you? You had drums, guitars, bass. You had everything.
Oh, after high school, definitely. Yeah, I was like, I had collections of just crap, you know. But like when we were like really young, you're just like, well, you know, Nate's got a snare drum, and I've got an acoustic guitar, so we could start a band. And that's like, that's as far as it gets.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Rick? Do you remember when that music store in New Milford? We heard that it closed, and we went down and dumpster dived some stuff from there, from that they threw out from the store.
Yeah, I do now. Yeah, I found
What'd you
like a
get?
12-string electric acoustic guitar in there. Like,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we found some good stuff.
yeah. We also had a friend who was like, you could do an entire interview with him. It would be pretty good. This guy named Doug that stole a lot of our equipment from the Catholic school he went to.
That's
Yeah,
punk.
we had
That's not metal.
we had a friend who got expelled from public school for reasons that I won't get into.
Okay.
But once he was in private school, he started ransacking their fucking music department and giving us all the gear. It was awesome.
He didn't even want it?
No, he was like,
He never really played much aside from an electric keyboard.
yeah, I think he was
Okay.
just looking for a ticket for us to, like, I don't know, share our drugs with him and hang out and
Right.
and I don't know. It worked. It fucking worked.
Yeah. Cheers, Doug.
For all you listeners out there, if you want to be friends with the band, steal instruments, give them to them.
Yeah. Weed's not going to work anymore, guys.
Yeah, there's stores for that now. You got to steal shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's completely legal here now, man, like federally, which is crazy.
So why even do it?
Yeah, exactly. It's not cool. Yeah. Cool. All right.
So
Yeah.
wait, JP, what were you listening to at age 13?
At age 13, the Red Hot Chili Peppers was my favorite band at the age. 13.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I recently had a debate with a friend, or maybe my brother, over which was worse, Red Hot Chili Peppers or Faith No More.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. Sure.
I'm on Team Faith No More. I think they're way worse.
Really? Do you like Mr. Bungle at least? Do you like that shit or?
I can get into that. I can understand it, but Faith No More is. I think my brother. Yeah, it was with him because he put it best. He's like, it sounds like 4 different people who want to be in different bands playing together.
He definitely does. Mike
He's
Patton
garbage.
is like that. Yeah, dude, that's funny. I don't know. I just think Faith No More is just got a little more street cred, frankly, and I can get behind that. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. And they're more experimental, like inherently, right? Like at least it's like more diverse music rather than like dubba 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 California every album, right?
See, I think that's what makes Red Hot Chili Peppers better, is they're so stupid.
Yeah, that's true. They know it too. There's no doubt. They know what they're doing.
Jump. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't listen to them anymore. I like some of their songs are like undeniable, like they're like historical, like they're almost like Michael Jackson. Yeah, Under the Bridge also like musically and structurally like a very interesting song. But I learned how to play that when I was a teenager too, and I was like, wow, this is hard and easy at the same time. And then I got really into hip hop once I started smoking weed about a year or two after that, big time, because that's what the people who you smoke weed with, where I was living, sort of white wannabe gangster types, were listening to. So I was like, all right, and I'm always a big obsessive person, so I was like, I got to know more about this than these guys. Kind of got really into it. Yeah. And hip hop is the thing I actually listen to the most, probably still. But It's just, yeah, it's like easy listening for me. It's like like a Adele to, you know, a mom is my hip hop or whatever.
Did you ever try to make hip hop tracks? Or
I do make hip hop tracks. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay,
I
cool,
do.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like very ridiculous, but I do. Yeah. I was just so interested
Can you
in the
send
form.
it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Has
Can you, like,
mainstream hip hop gotten past the trap
We're just
production?
getting past it now.
Yeah, I was checking out some of the new stuff, and I like all these. I feel like the big thing last year was women rapping about pussy. Like
Yeah, I love that shit, man.
Yeah.
That's a debate I get in with some of my friends that are, you know, kind of stuck in their ways about hip hop, where they're like, I don't like Cardi B. I like that shit. I like it a lot. I find it exciting, you know.
Yeah, City Girls I listened to.
Yeah,
I think
that shit's awesome.
they were awesome. But
Yeah.
it's just trap beats with women talking about their pussies, which is cool.
Yeah.
But
I like the formulaicness of trap beats. Like I find it like almost the kind of comforting, you know.
they're awesome. Do you know you ever listen to Trap Studies by D. Raya?
No, I don't know that. I'll write it down.
Oh, it's so good. It's it's a guy who we've known for a long time, going back. He used to book shows for us at Hampshire. His name is Jack Callahan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he records music under this German name, D. Raya. And
How do you spell that?
Diehre.
Okay.
Yeah, but he did an album where it's it just takes one element of the trap beat at a time and just like has that go on for a while. So you
I
get
can
one
get behind
track that's just the little hi-hats.
Yeah. I love the little hi-hats, man. They're infectious. Yeah.
It's funny. It's good.
But yeah, I think hip hop is getting past trap music. I think it's on its last kind of legs of dominating the billboards. I don't know if you guys have ever heard like that 100 Gex and that kind of stuff that's been popping off.
A little bit.
I think that sort of hyper pop thing that people are. You ever listen to like the PC music label and that kind of stuff? Any of you guys?
Yeah. I was hearing some of this and some of the stuff I listened to. I forget, Lil Uzi Vert.
Yeah, he's on
He's
that.
kind of blending that kind of synthy pop shit with
he goes over the kind of like Sega Genesis video gamey kind of beats seamlessly, and I like him a lot. I'm a big fan of him. But I think that's what's going to dominate the literally the Billboard charts by 2022 probably. I think especially if the pandemic completely chills out, people want to dance again. And trap music it's like good like club music, but I don't think it's great dance music necessarily. Whereas something like, I don't know, Sophie, like, okay, for you guys who aren't aware of this stuff, it sounds like Aqua. It shit sounds like Aqua.
Yeah,
like Barbie Girl.
I get where you're going. Yeah.
I think that's gonna take over once people want to dance. I don't know. Yeah, or can dance, I guess.
Happy hardcore is back.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, the 100 Gex thing. I feel like it's like a band like Aqua, but writing songs like Mr. Bunglewood.
Yeah, that's definitely right.
They're doing that sort of mishmash pastiche thing, but with the kind of new electronic music kind of angle.
Yeah. They're huge too, man. Like very, 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 very popular band, weirdly. I even feel a little too old for it though, to be honest, but
I know that feeling.
Yeah. It's finally happening. Cool. I don't know. You guys want to talk about anything else?
I mean, we could just keep
I wish we could play music right now.
Yeah.
Like, be able to play live right now, if you will?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I can't help you.
Yeah, what the fuck?
They
I thought you were going to figure this out.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, this will go on like the radio, so I'll play some of your music at the very least. So
Can you play little snippets of the songs you guys just talked, or the artists you guys just talked about in there too?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'm gonna put it together before I go to bed tonight.
Just so just so the fans, just so they know what's going on.
Yeah, I'll probably edit this chat down a touch, just because I only have an hour and I also gotta play music. But it'll be on YouTube.
Oh, you only have an hour. Okay.
Yeah, but I also post the full unedited interviews always on YouTube and various podcasting apps. I said that in the email, I think, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's
For
cool.
the true listeners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't like adhering to a form, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna do both. You know. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for talking to me, man. This is sweet.
Good. Thanks
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for giving us something to do.
Yeah, my pleasure. So yeah, for the listeners, you can find their new albums, pre-order them now. I think this will be up on Monday. So the album, what day is it today? The album will not be out yet. You can pre-order Modern Reserve from Flag Day Records. That's right?
Flag Day Recordings.
Flag Day Recordings, and you can get The Lower Way on Decoherence. They're easy Googles. You can find them easy, and they rip. They rip. So do it. This has been White Suns. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
I'm just gonna stop.